Yeah, let's go.
Okay, good morning everyone. How's everyone doing? You're in track 1, but was changed to track 2 over here, but it's social media marketing. I don't want to spend too much time doing a lot of explanation, things like that, because we're running a little bit behind. Sorry, we apologize. We had some panelist changes, these things occurs, especially with small businesses. But social media marketing has become very, very popular. Over the last 5-10 years, it's exploded in growth, and we're seeing a lot of platforms out there. It can be very confusing. So we have an expert panel here to help us out with navigating social media and give you some tips and tricks maybe to help your small business or you as an entrepreneur get started in social media or expand your engagement with your audience through social media. So I'm going to have the panelists introduce themselves. We'll go down the line, and if you can introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you and what you do, that would be great.
Oh, me first. Hi, I'm Christy Friday. I work with a company called The Barber Shop Marketing. We're right down the street. We're a full service advertising agency, and we do a ton in the digital and social media space. First of all, because it's very, very cost efficient, and second of all, it sells stuff. So we find it to be a very effective tool, even with how crazy things change and how fast they change. So I'll pass it on.
Hi, my name is Mary Rosenbleeth. I'm the Public Communications Director for the town of Addison. Welcome to Addison. We're glad you all are here. So I manage all of our social media platforms and all the marketing for the town. That includes promoting our tourism industry, our special events, and our economic development efforts, along with just the city in general to the residents.
Hi there. So my name is Ali Mirza. I run a company called iSocialU. We do 2 things for our client. Number 1, how do you build a community of engaged fans and followers? And number 2, in that process, how do you convert that community into lead, sales, and revenue? Thank you all for coming.
And I think John will be back in just a second maybe to join us as the 4th panelist. But we're going to start a little bit broad. I know there's different levels of expertise in here with social media out in the audience. So we're just going to start off with what are some things that a small business or an entrepreneur can do to become more savvier with social media and the social media platforms that are out there?
So how many people are consistently creating content on social channels? So some, right? So that's number 1, because all these social media channels, they're sort of becoming pay to play. Like Facebook, back 2 years ago, the organic reach was really high. When you posted content, a lot of people will see it. But now the organic reach is down because they make money when we run ads, their investors make money, right? So what I would say is for small businesses, absolutely get consistent, and we'll talk more about what type of content, what's working, what's not working. But the number 1 thing I would say is whatever channel you pick, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever it may be consistent with your messaging, be consistent with the content that you're putting out.
I would say understand how some of these social media platforms work, similar to what you were saying. There are algorithms that you can't control. Posting regular content is very important to making sure that people actually see your content. Just because you have 5,000 followers doesn't mean that Facebook feeds all 5,000 of your followers your content. So that gets moved up in people's feeds based on engagement and conversation. They want a dialogue back and forth. So when people respond to your, if they comment on a post or something you've done, engage back with them, because that dialogue is something that Facebook looks for to move you up in the algorithm. So that engagement piece is really important. I think content calendars and creating content is important. Understanding Facebook Manager, Business Manager. There are free platforms out there that can help you do some really targeted advertising. And I'll actually let Christy talk more about that because they do a ton of that.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I was just going to echo what they were saying. 3 or 4 years ago, if you had 5,000 followers, 5,000 people would see your post. Now, good shot, maybe 10% of those, unless you boost it. We find boosting the organic content, we like to do that. First we see what people are engaging with, what type of posts they're engaging with, right? Once we kind of identify, ooh, that got some engagement, we boost that, right? And then after we look at the ones that we boosted, sometimes we might boost it even a second time. why do we do that? Because you want to give people what they're engaging with. And I'll give you a quick story. We do all the marketing for Baker Brothers Plumbing. And so for the Olympics, for the 2016 Olympics, we wanted to get some really cool curated content that was kind of out of the box, because how can you make plumbing really look cool, right? So we did a little take on the Olympic Games, and we had a plunger on fire, and we had the guys in little synchronized swimming hats and things like that. That got great engagement for us because it was out of the box, it was something unique, it was contemporary, it was about the Olympics that were about to kick off. So I would challenge you from a content perspective to think out of the box from your individual businesses and really look for safe, right? Because you don't want to be too far out there in business with the content, but safe, out of the box ideas to sort of extend your brand. And then from the paid side, we do a ton in the paid space, and we utilize paid in a variety of different ways. And I would say for those of you who has lead lists or email addresses of your current customers that you have just lying around, okay. Well, I would say dust that off, because the biggest tool that you have at your disposal for 2020 is your data. That is the bullseye right to the center. Why is that important? Because birds of a feather flock together, right? Cliche for a reason. So what you can do now with Facebook and Instagram is you upload your customer lists into the system, and with their algorithm, they can find people like those people and market to them. So it expands your reach, because the people that have already engaged with your service, they obviously liked it, right? They bought it. So if you can do that, then your data can extend your advertising campaigns in a much more cost-efficient manner. And then another thing that we can touch on, but I was just going to mention, is attribution, right? Because we all want to know how much money we spent, how many leads we got, and how many items we sold. And so we have a flower shop, Apples to Zinnias. They spend about $750 a month hard cost to Facebook, right? Because it's very efficient. And we sold $9,206 worth of flowers from that one campaign. So you have the ability to take, after you've sold it, load it back into Facebook and do a match back if you have it set up correctly. So it's a really cool new feature, relatively new, that we found a lot of value in, especially for people that are like, I spent it, why did I get it? You know, it's real hard to say, but that's my 2 cents.
And I think that's one of the things to remember is, even though these platforms are free, they're still businesses. They're out there to appease the stockholders, so they want you to pay to play most of the time nowadays. Like the panelist said, the organic reach is way down, and I think being able to become more savvy about knowing the ways that you can pay and get your ROI that makes an impact on your business and be able to track that is very, very important. So they were dead on. It's the same things I would have said. Is, you know, it's a business now, and you know, a lot of people complain about the algorithm and things like that, but they're trying to make their business and they're trying to grow. So it's just part of the game, I guess you can say, about, you know, gamifying social media. But so that brings us to, there's a lot of different businesses in here, I assume, and how do they pick the right platform to be on? Like, what do they do to determine what would be the best place to start doing social media or expand on that?
I would say if you've got a very visual product and you're willing to post a lot of pictures, if you have that, Instagram's a good place to be. It's a much younger demographic than Facebook, but whatever you have has got to be super photo friendly, and you have to be willing and able to post photos on a pretty regular basis. I think the majority of businesses tend to start with a Facebook page. That has a wider appeal. It gives you more flexibility with what you post and what you share. Makes it easier to share viral content that may be picked up. That Twitter is an easy platform. It's not as good for targeted marketing, but it's an easy space to be in. I don't know that it gets you as much. For us anyway, we get very little engagement for Twitter. Our older demographic tends to engage on Facebook, and our younger demographic tends to engage on Instagram. But with our events and things like that, and all of the food and restaurants around here that we promote, we have very visually attractive things to promote on Instagram.
Yeah. Well, I would say I would echo exactly what she said, because for us, social media is, for people that have small budgets, it's a great place to start because you can get a lot of bang for your buck. And from an attribution perspective, it's the same. So I'll give you my best way is to talk in case studies. So we have a client of ours, he sells Kias, new and used, Bill Dickinson, I don't know if you know who that is, but in 2 months, he spent $6,000, and we were able to identify through the matchback that he sold 135 cars off that 2 months, over $3.2 million in vehicles sold, and only 9 of those came from Instagram. Because again, it's people my age, they shop on Facebook, and that's a great venue in order to catch people that are buying big ticket items. Also, I would say anyone that would say, I think LinkedIn is for me. You can also do a lot of the things on Facebook that you would do on LinkedIn, but for a fraction of the cost. So we had one client that was a master's program, Baylor master's program. They were dead set on using LinkedIn. And so for a $400 budget, hard cost to LinkedIn, we were able to reach the same number of people that we were able to reach on Facebook for $27. So from an eyeball to eyeball perspective, if you can find a way to make Facebook the number one sort of go-to sell your product, and then have Instagram pivot, because they're together now, you can pivot your photography, your video to Instagram with different tactics, right? Because you want to have hashtags there versus on Facebook, it's more words, right? And I would just leave Twitter alone. Twitter's not going to sell you anything, unless you just like to talk. And then I would also say that from a social media perspective, that video is king. So anytime that you can be, even as simple as you're sitting at the desk and something just hits you and you can video yourself. Static is dead, so any video that you can do, even in the 5 to 7 seconds, believe it or not, that's how attention deficit we are, 5 to 7 seconds is really where you want to be, and use that video. And another great value for Facebook is utilizing the ads for messaging. So being able to have 2 different creative sales messages or 2 different taglines and being able to A/B test those. That way on your traditional media, you can echo what you've already tried and true tested that you know moves the needle on Facebook. You can then amplify that on your traditional media channels. That way you're not guessing. You're using data to drive the decisions, because that's the key today, is data drives decisions. Data drives decisions for creative, data drives decisions for messaging. Your data gets you more of the people that you want to sell stuff to. So data is key.
So yeah, very quickly, I think the platforms, obviously you want to be where your audience is, right? Sometimes people are like, we're not sure where our audience is. So what you can do is look at your competition, look at their social media channels, and then see where they're getting the most engagement.
That's a great.
Because that will tell you that that's where your audience is, and that's where your audience is most engaged at. By the way, how many people manage their social media themselves? And if that's the case, then you want to pick less channels in the beginning and go deep. Don't kill yourself. And there's TikTok today, there's Snapchat, there's bazillion channels, right?
Yeah.
Can you explain a little bit about A/B testing real quick, just so they understand what that means?
So, yes, and I want to just dovetail off what he was saying. For those of you that are managing your own social media, that's okay. One of the trends we're really seeing right now as an agency and as a consultant, a lot of times we just consult on things, is that we see people bringing the organic or the curated content in-house, because that's easy to do, right? And then getting some bigger items, like a couple of videos that are a little bit more well-produced in their arsenal, and then they use those, and then where they can outsource is on the ads. And so, to what your question was, A/B testing is just essentially taking 2 different ads that look similar, but they're different. Different message, different look and feel slightly, but still within brand. And so by putting those with very similar targeting in the same medium, so let's use Facebook as an example, we would load both of those ads into the Facebook Business Manager, and we would let them run. And you have to get enough scale, so depending on your budget, because you don't want to just have it be on a reduced number of eyeballs, because that's not statistically relevant, right? So you want to run, what would you say? A couple 100,000 impressions? Yeah. A couple 100,000 impressions, which will happen pretty quickly. And in pretty short order, you'll see what people are gravitating towards and what people are engaging with. Then you take the, let's say it was A, that you're getting more engagement. You take the A, you take the bones of that, and you put another messaging with that, and then you A/B and test again. So now you've got A/B into A, and then you A/B A again, if that makes sense. And then you see what gets more engagement then. So by doing that over time, you'll start to hone in on exactly what your magic mix of words, colors, ideas that people are really gravitating towards, and then that's what you go full force on. And really, A/B testing is never done, just like your website is never done. It will always evolve. That's what you go opening.
And I think the key is just knowing your audience. I mean, really research, deep dive. Who is your audience? What do they do? What do they do on a daily basis? When are they going to be on these platforms? Know where they're at. I'm actually marketing for public education. You can believe that there's so much competition out there now that there's a need for marketing in that industry. And I'm a big fan of Facebook just because of their massive amount of data. You can really pinpoint, narrow in on ads of who you want to target. I can get someone that just recently gave birth, that it lives in the area, and I mean, there's just so much opportunity. And what you were saying about Twitter is a lot of my teachers, because that's sort of more of a professional development platform for them, they're like, well, we have to be on Twitter, we have to do this, we have to promote on Twitter. I'm like, you're blind. I had to do a video. You're blinded by Twitter, and explain to them a little bit about how Twitter's not really the #1 place you should be promoting. You can have conversations. It's excellent for talking with experts in your industry, but it's not going to help you as much as some of the other platforms out there, in my opinion.
Well, I have a funny story about Twitter, because the only one that I see from a business perspective that does well on Twitter is Wendy's. And they are completely disruptive. I don't know if you've ever been on and seen any of the conversations, but they pretty much call out all their competitors with not so nice things to say. And so unless you're going to be disruptive, which I kind of like to stay middle of the road, I don't want to be too disruptive and make people mad. Unless you're going to be disruptive, it's not a great place. And I see more people getting in trouble on Twitter than being productive, especially even in the education space. So you never know when words are going to land without visuals to help tell the story. So.
And our president.
Well, I was going to go there. Again, I like to stay middle of the road. I'll talk about non-politics, just me.
He loves Twitter.
Yes, he does. And then I was also going to say that another great place to sort of identify, I don't know, who's using Google Analytics in the room? Okay, so Google Analytics is sort of a free agnostic tool provided by Google, and it lives in the header code of your website, right? For those of you that don't know. If you can install Google Analytics on your website, we find it to be a really good tool to sort of cross-reference. Again, you don't want to go full force with Google information, but it's a great place to start, because if you look at the behavior tab inside Google Analytics, you can go to an interest section, and you can look at the statistical likelihood that the people that have been on your website are into gardening, for example, or whatever it may be. And you can use some of those findings to figure out sort of some interesting targeting things that may be a little out of the box you hadn't thought of before. So we use that as a good place to start, and always search your competitors. There's also a lot of tools that a lot of people like us have access to pull competitive reports that aren't that expensive. So you can pull your website compared to your top 4 competitors' websites, for example, and look at what are they saying socially, what keywords are they ranking for, who are they targeting, and it's sort of a subscription-based tool that may be kind of expensive if you were to do a one-off, but probably we can do that for you. And we find that to be really, really effective when you're building your campaigns.
I think the quote is, "In God we trust, but all others must use data." I think that data is so important, and there's so many free tools out there like Google Analytics and just Facebook Insights that you could be using, but there's also some paid tools that all these experts can probably talk to you about when we do the Q&A, so something to think about going on. But here's probably the sore subject when I bring up this question, and especially for small business and entrepreneurs, but how much should a business be putting towards their marketing budget towards social media?
All of it. Well, obviously, we, on this side of the table, we run campaigns. We want as much budget as possible. But I think for business owners, it's a really challenging question to really answer that effectively. How many people know what's the lifetime of value of their customer is? Right? So that's what I would kind of start with. What's the lifetime value for a customer is basically how much, when you get a new customer, how much that customer spends with you in like span of like 1 year or like lifetime. And let's say if that's $100, then you kind of work backwards, right? So I don't want to spend $110 to acquire that customer on social media. So you kind of use that data to kind of identify how much you want to spend. The other thing, let's say if you have no idea, if you're selling multiple products like restaurants, sometimes it's hard to know like what's the lifetime value of a customer is. What I tell people is let's say 2019, look at all the marketing channels that you spend your money on, and then identify the least effective one. And let's say that's print, and you spend 20% on print in 2019, then move that 20% in social in 2020. So there are different ways of, there's not right or wrong answer. Obviously, like we want the maximum budget, right? So we can run campaigns, and we know on this side of the table that when you run Facebook ads with the data, it's so much effective. Yeah, you gotta be patient. It's a process. It's not, the example I gave is it's like going to the gym. So you have to go every single day. You have to do the same exercises again and again and again and again. You have to eat right, you have to sleep right, and then 6 months afterwards you will see results. So that's the process of getting results from the gym. Same thing is true for marketing or social media. So what I would say, look at to identify how much you want to put in, look at the lifetime value of your customer, and then how much you want to spend to acquire a customer, and then use that math to identify the budget. If that's not really like making sense, then in 2019, move the least effective channel's budget on social.
I agree. I think there's not a magic number. It depends on the business. It depends on how your customers are responding on social. There's social and then there's digital. We tend to do a lot. We do very little print anymore. One of our biggest events is a fireworks show called Boomtown. It's one of the top 10 fireworks shows in the country. We spend $5,000 to promote that event, and it's all on search. So Google search is what we use for a lot of our events, and that's a good place for you all to be looking to spend ad dollars as well, just when people are searching for something that you pop up. That's a little bit more challenging to do on your own, but Facebook ads, you can get very targeted into what you want. They give you a whole profile that you can design basically who the customer is, kind of like what Christy was saying. You can say, or what you were saying, just had a baby, lives in this neighborhood. You can be very, very specific with it, so you don't have to spend the thousands of dollars you have to spend on print or radio, because you really can get a very, very targeted market. It's a good place to look.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to say it the same, but just a little different. So what we always talk to whenever we're engaging with a new client or we're talking to someone, we would say whatever budget that you can make comfortable for at least 4 months, because the worst thing you can do is dip your toe in and spend $750 for 1 month and say, that didn't work, I'm out. Because Facebook, and on top of that, let's say it does work really great, that $750. The worst thing you can do is double your budget for the next month, because Facebook works off all algorithms. So we always say, whatever budget that you want to do, let's try to keep it the same budget for at least 4 months. If you want to increase, we don't recommend increasing the budget more than 15 to 20%. And if you do increase the budget 15 to 20%, you want to keep that spend for the remaining months of that buy. Because what happens is, you put money in, Facebook's going to work to the algorithm. You start jacking with that money, then it's going to reset the algorithm, and it's going to take 2 to 4 more weeks to sort of even out, right when you change the budget again. Facebook's like, whoa, 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 what are you doing? So commit to a budget that you can do for 4 months. I would say for most all of our verticals, we have 40 to 50 clients at a time. Most all of them do social. We do a lot of events. We do a lot of, which works really well, by the way, for Facebook. We do a lot of ROI-driven clients. I would say for ROI-driven clients that have something to sell, whether it's e-commerce or metal or a service like plumbing services, that works really well. Where we've been challenged is, for example, we have a realtor that we do, and he doesn't have any listings, right? He works with it, but he doesn't have any listings to promote. So how do you promote someone to buy or sell their home if they don't have a home that they're buying or selling that you can put in the carousel on Facebook? So what we did is we built a campaign, one around buying a home and one around selling your home, did videos, and then layered on targeting of the top zip codes in his range because he wants to sell homes 200 to 300, not the real expensive ones, not the real cheap ones. We said anybody with a life change, so divorce, you're probably buying or selling a home, unfortunately. Newly engaged, probably newly pregnant, probably gonna look at some changes in your home, right? And then we also layered on something that a lot of people don't know about Facebook, which is we can tell if they are also searching on other websites outside of Facebook, like Trulia, Redfin, Zillow. So you can say, I want somebody with a current life change in this neighborhood with this kind of a home values by zip code, right? And is also searching on, not or, but and. And so you can kind of get targeted like, ooh, these people really are in the market to buy a home right now. So that's one of my little tricks.
And I think what they said too is you can't just do it once and think it's going to be this magic, thing that happens to your company, that it's going to be the solution that's going to, win you so many clients and so many leads and things like that. You definitely have to be consistent over a period of time, and that also helps Facebook collect the data on your audience as well. So when you're doing these things, you're not only getting people maybe driven to your website or collecting these leads, you're also gathering data about your audience that's interacting with these ads as well. So, all right, so. We talked about, it has to be effective, see if it's working, things like that. What tools or what things, some of you touched on Google Analytics, what things are you using or what tools are out there to help someone realize, are they getting that ROI? Are they making an impact with their Facebook ads or their Instagram ads or whatever?
Pixel, which now I'm going to talk a little technical. This is my favorite part of Love Data. And I'm like, hi, I love data. So we place an event pixel on the buttons where whenever somebody completes a form or they go to any place that's a call to action area on your website, you click to call. And once they complete that form, it fires what they call an event fire pixel. We use that event fire pixel to then extract the data on the back end. Now this takes 60 to 90 days, so you have to kind of wait a little bit like we were talking about. But then you can go into your CRM system, right, where you keep all of the people that purchased and dump out all the people that bought within that time frame. Then upload that back into Facebook and it does an attribution match. If you ever are confused about any of the words or any of the things like Event Fire Pixel, one of the resources, even to this day I use, because marketers, we never quit learning and wait 6 months and it's a completely different thing that we're learning. Google and YouTube are your best friends. So go on and say, I want to learn how to place an Event Fire Pixel, and you'd be shocked and amazed all the things that you can do from just watching a couple of YouTube videos. So that would be one thing. We use a company called Sprout Social. So we have a social listening tool that we can load in not only the content, but the ads. And basically every 30 days, we output a report that has a wealth of knowledge to know whether it's working well or not. We also use tools like Moz, M-O-Z. They have a free listings tool that we find pretty effective. And you can go in and figure out how you guys, who has brick and mortars that they want to drive traffic into? Just one? Okay, this is more for you, but the most important thing is like the Google Map listing, right? So if you're not showing up on the listings, then you can't really drive people back into your store if you're not loaded in. So I'll kind of skip over that part. And then there's a host of other things like SEM Rush is an effective tool we use for anything pay-per-click, competitor analysis. I think those are our most favorite ones right now.
Facebook has built into it some really great analytics. If you just go and play with it some, it's got some good information about engagement, number of views, not quite as detailed as Sprout Social, but it'll give you, at least it's a free, good place to start. So I would use the resources that you have available at your disposal already.
I mean, the good thing about social is everything is trackable, right? With the data. The bad thing is not many people know how to kind of make sense of the data. What I would say, make sure, I think not many people have the Google Analytics. So whoever is managing your website, yourself, agency, consultant, have Google Analytics installed. It's a free tool. It's one of the best ones. And then if you're doing things on Facebook or Instagram, Facebook's ad manager is a crazy amount of data. Yeah. You can know everything. You looked at your ads, and like you said, the Facebook pixels. You can retarget people. You can have people watch your videos and then offer them, show them like an offer from your business. So you can do like crazy thing. So as far as the tools and tracking, number one, Google Analytics for sure. And then I think we'll talk about SEO, so that's where the Moz and SEM Rush will be huge for you. Facebook Ads Manager, if you're running ads, you have to know Facebook Ads Manager inside and out. There's one other tool which is kind of newish, but it's really cool. It's called Facebook Ads Library. So if you search on Google, Facebook Ads Library, what you can do is go put anyone's page name, and it'll show you the ads that person or that business is running. So imagine if you're a restaurant, a Mexican restaurant, you in Addison, you want to see what type of offer Taco Bell is running, or another restaurant, just go to Facebook Ads Library, put their page name, and it's going to show you all the ads that they're running. Other cool thing you can do is when you click on their ad, you can see where they're taking people to. So you can also see what type of ads, what type of image, what type of video they're using, and then when people click on that, where do they go? Are they going to like an offer page and stuff like that? So yeah, I think for tools or tracking, Google Analytics must have. You cannot. Next time I see you, everyone should have Google Analytics. That's how important it is, right?
That's just right.
And then the native tools are really good. Facebook Ads Manager, that will tell you everything that you're doing with your social analytics.
Ali, do you want to talk a little about SEO? We're getting a little bit close to the time because we want to get to question and answering too. So you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So how many people are creating consistent content, like on their blog, right? So that's number one. SEO is kind of like driven by content, right? So, and a lot of time I run into a lot of people and they're not creating a lot of content, which is okay if the solution that you are giving, your business is giving, people are not finding that solution by searching in Google. So ask yourself, hey, the business I have, the solution that I provide people, does my target audience usually go to Google, search, and then find something similar? If the answer is yes, SEO should be number one on your marketing channel. If the answer is no, then yes, you can be number 2 or 3, whatever. And then on SEO, you have to, we live, everything is going online. If I want to buy anything, the first thing I'll do is go to, if I know someone, I'll ask him, hey, what's your recommendation? If I don't, I'm going to go to Google. So if we're not creating content, we're not giving people an opportunity to find us. And then, on content, what I would say is create the content that your target audience is already searching for.
Yeah.
One tip is, how many people heard of a platform called Quora? So it's Quora. It's a Q&A platform. So let's say if you go to Quora, just put whatever your business is. Let's say you're a vegan restaurant. For some reason, I'm like into restaurant today. Search for like vegan restaurants or food, whatever your business is, even like insurance. And then it'll tell you what type of question your target audience has in your niche. So take those questions and then create content on your blog. So that's what, kind of like SEO. Again, I'll go back to ask yourself this question. Is your target audience searching on Google to find a solution that you solve for them, that your business solves? If the answer is yes, you should absolutely be creating, weekly content.
I think that's a great answer about the content. I would say though, if you answered yes to his question, my question back to you is, are you then committed for a very long time to be a thought leader in your industry? Because that's what it's going to take. You really have to shift your mind into providing content that will help people be thought leaders in your industry. You really have to think high for that, because that's what people are searching for, is answers. And if you can be the authority on whatever subject that you are providing, whatever industry, that's where you'll really have the value. I would say if you were to come to me and say, what's the one easy thing that you could do to immediately get a lift in your SEO, my answer would be, let's pull an audit on your website. Because 9 times out of 10, websites, like I said, you think your website's done, it's never done. Because Google changes their algorithms all the time. So sometimes meta tags are most important, and sometimes H1 tags are important, and sometimes image tags. Are you interlinking on your blog? All of these technical terms that one of us could literally click a button and provide for you a short list of things that you could do to improve your website Because your website is really your virtual showroom. Your website is going to be what people, if they're calling you, they've already decided they want to work with you or be engaged with you or buy your product. So you've got to make sure that your foundation of your house is sound. So the first thing always we say is, let's pull a web audit and see where you stand. Let's fix those things that are broken, and it's nothing to do with how pretty your website is or how many pictures that you have. It has to do with speed. You would probably say that think with Google, they have a page test for mobile. I would give you guys, every single one of you homework, go tonight to google.com and Google mobile test speed and put your website in there and see what grade you get. It's going to be very clear. It's going to be green, yellow, or red. And I'm going to bet for most of you, because we do this every day, all day, most everybody's in the red. It's nothing to be upset about. It's just something that you should fix, because if it takes more than 3 seconds for your website to load on your phone, they've already moved on to the next person. And then my next thing to say with SEO is, if they do decide to pick up the phone, one of the things we encounter a lot is you must answer the phone when they call. I don't care if you're driving down the highway. Because if you don't answer and they call, they're going to go to your competitor next on the list. And no one leaves voicemails anymore. Who likes voicemail? No one, right? Exactly. So make sure that your lead process for handling those leads is in place. We look at conversion score a ton, and if it's more than 2 hours, you only have a 63% chance of converting that customer. If it's 48, it's a 396% chance of converting it. If it's within 10 minutes, you have a much higher likelihood. So anybody that's interested in that study, we've got that. But so SEO, make sure your foundation of your house is straight. Content is king, but if your content isn't going in the right place with the best practice, no one's gonna read it anyway. So.
And if you don't respond to them, they're probably going to give you a bad review on Google as well. So
It's the worst.
Did you have a specific question about
I'm really
this?
sorry. What is SEO?
Oh, sorry.
Search engine optimization. So imagine when you're going on Google, right? Because everybody goes to Google, and you type in bottled water near me. If you look and it says ad or sponsored at the top, that's pay per click, right? You click on that, it's going to cost $1.25 to get to that website. What we're talking about is search engine optimization, which is kind of cutting out the pay to play, and it goes right into the organic listings. So if you scroll past the map listings and you see the first one on the search term page that's not paid for that position, that's what we're talking about. And for people with very nimble budgets, it's a great way to be. If you're a realtor, you're never going to rank over Zillow. So you have to really be understanding of where your industry is, and do you even have the possibility to be number one? And also, when it comes back, and I'll just say it, people search differently. And so what a woman would search for in terms of, they call it long tail keywords, is going to be much different than what men search for. Men, straight to the point, right? 3 or 4 words. So for me, I might say, bottle of water with a blue label and a green lid near me. You know what I mean? So you really have to look, and if you look at those long tail keywords, sometimes you can find little nuggets of stories that you wouldn't have even thought of just from that perspective, which is going to set the stage for the next big thing, which data is the next big thing. Cookies are going away. That's going to be the next big thing. Then after that, it's going to be voice search. And so if you guys are not laying the groundwork for that, you need to have the eye on that. So fix your foundation, master your lead process, organize your data, be friendly with Google. Amen.
I think voice is going to be huge. I mean, Amazon has sold their best-selling item for Christmas the last 2 years has been the Amazon Echo. So voice is going to be huge. It's in everyone's hand. It's in everyone's ears now. Amazon just released a bunch of new products yesterday, all to do with voice. Earbuds, a ring, glasses, everything. So to have that search engine optimization is going to be key in some of that audio, the future of audio.
And one other thing, yes, they are listening to you. So I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but if you talk about, a purple wheelchair, and I'm telling you, do something weird, knock the wall, and start talking in front of your phone, you will see ads in your stream talking about, buy this really great purple wheelchair tomorrow, maybe even today, I don't know. But they are listening, so anything that you have in your house, they look for keywords, and whenever you say those keywords, the algorithm turns on and starts listening to you. So, privacy is dead, people. So better start working to your advantage instead of just talking about hating it because it's here.
I really want to thank the expert panel. We're going to have one more question before we get to Q&A. Just a real quick question for each one of our panelists. What's one thing you can share just to sum up, like when it comes to social media marketing, what's a tip or a suggestion you can give to people to sum up the program today?
Okay.
Just say, be consistent with your content and your posting, and engage with your customers. That's how you create that dialogue and create that branding, and it's important to your SEO, it's important to all of the different things that you do. So that would be my content calendars, and regular posting, I think, is really important.
I would say even the regular posting, make your content sticky, make it interesting. You can reduce the number of posts that you do. A couple years ago we would do 5 posts a week, right? You don't really need to do that anymore, because your goal, at least in my opinion, the goal with organic content is to create sticky enough content that once you advertise to them and they get to your page, they find a reason to follow it. They find a reason to engage with it. That's what's going to grow your following on social media. So I would say focus less about frequency of content, instead quality of content, and committing to quality of content consistently and layering on that ad strategy to help drive whatever messaging you need to sell whatever items you're selling.
What I would say, for small businesses, it can get overwhelming, right? There's so many things to talk about. I think you guys took probably pages of notes. So take one step. So you don't try to do everything at the same time, because that gets overwhelming unless you have a team and you're working with people. We have systems and processes in place. So if you're doing it yourself, or you're working with someone in-house, so take one thing at a time. An example being, let's say you're not consistent with the content, then start there. Let's say you're not looking at your Google Analytics, then make sure you do that. If you are consistent with your content, the next step is how do you make it better. So that's where the video comes in and other things. So it is a process. It's not a quick win. That's something we thought when the social kind of came on scene a couple of years ago. Everyone thought that's the next best thing, right? Everyone kind of hey, let's jump onto social. And now people are realizing, hey, it's not. That's why you would see a lot of people saying, hey, social doesn't work. It's not that social doesn't work. It's we're not willing to put in the effort into that process that's going to make it effective for our business. So that would be my suggestion. Just take whatever notes you guys took today. Just take one thing at a time and implement it slowly. It is a process.
So you're saying the smaller the dashes on my Instagram stories is not a good thing. Okay. Thank you so much to our panelists. Thank you so much.